is a format, a supplement where they are all together. And of course, we talk about the Bio-PQQ because that is very rare to find a supplement, especially that particular supplement, especially at this price. It is a very effective but very rare supplement. You don't see that sold in most of the stores, but you do find things like CoQ10. People take that because it is so effective in so many different ways. But this combines all these things together. And again, they call it DNA Force because, you know, just like you have your shoestrings, you've got the little caps there that keep your shoestrings from unraveling. There's a thing called telomeres. And that's something that is at the end of your DNA strands to keep them from unraveling. And so these nutrients are set up to try to keep those things from getting shorter. You can actually measure the length of somebody's telomeres and make a pretty good prediction of their natural lifespan in terms of their, let's say, their biological age, really. So that is DNA Force is now 25% off, and that is a premier product that we have at InfoWarsLife.com. Again, the food is now been extended for another day, 20 to 40% off InfoWars Select Storable Food. Now, I mentioned Hillary Clinton's imperious droids. Remember back June 22nd? As part of this Judicial Watch lawsuit, they had a Clinton IT staffer come in and take the Fifth Amendment. Not once, not twice, not 10 times, 125 times. 125 consecutive times. This was Brian Pagliano, who was involved in setting up and maintaining Hillary Clinton's private email server. He accepted an immunity deal with the FBI, okay, where he cooperated with them to tell them all about it. And, you know, the interesting thing is that I remember 20 years ago in 1996, remember, we had the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. We had the Clintons, we had Bill Clinton running for president. And you had fundraising corruption, again, with the Chinese. As we've seen again this year, of course, that was kind of shut down when the guy who was at the center of this had a barbell fall on his neck. What an unfortunate accident. Okay, but we saw this all before, some of the same actors. We had Charlie Tree, who was given immunity in exchange for information. And he said, yes, we were buying information from the Clintons, from the DNC. This was a quid pro quo bribe, but nothing happened to him. And you got to look at this and understand that when the FBI turns people in these investigations, what do? They typically go out to the lowest level people. They go to the IT people and they give the guy immunity in exchange for information that's going to help them catch the guys at the top, typically, okay? Except we're talking about the Clintons. And then what happens is they flip that guy, they find out who else is involved, they go up to the next level, they give those people immunity, they get the information from them, they flip them up until they get to the Clintons, and it's like, oh, well, you know, we're not interested in pursuing the prosecution because they're different from everybody else. That pattern doesn't apply with them. Meanwhile, all these other people that are all the way down, they all get immunity. Nobody goes to jail. Everybody's happy. Isn't that great? Aren't the Clintons wonderful for our country? Just everybody gets happy. So these imperious droids, like Brian Pagliano, okay, he did it 125 times. Yesterday we had Attorney General Loretta Lynch was asked to testify before Congress. So she goes 74 times. She doesn't take the Fifth Amendment. That looks a little bit too incriminating to say, I refuse to incriminate myself. Oh, so you must have some incriminating information. Well, actually, she does. But she would not cooperate with anybody. She refused to answer. And she did that 74 times prior to Congressman David Trott getting his chance to ask her questions. He said, well, I knew you weren't going to answer any of our questions today. I apologize for wasting so much time because it's really not been very productive. But he said, here's what we understand. You're not fooling anybody. He said, either you're saying that to avoid the appearance of impropriety, in which case you should have recused yourself, or you're simply trying to protect Hillary Clinton. And it's interesting because on Monday we're going to have a judge who is going to rule as to whether or not Judicial Watch can put Hillary Clinton under oath. Remember, Bill Clinton was impeached for perjury. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and we were talking just before I ran out of time at the break. We were talking about Hillary Clinton and her imperious droids. You know, you had the Clinton IT staffer not even a month ago taking the Fifth Amendment 125 consecutive times. And yesterday we've got Attorney General Loretta Lynch refusing to answer questions even before the thing was over. She had refused to answer 74 different questions. And now, on Monday, we're going to have the same people who had brought up her IT staffer when he took 125 questions. Loretta Lynch was talking to Congress. She just refused to talk to Congress. And I guess we can also say that even though Hillary Clinton, by the admission of the FBI, committed perjury when she talked to Congress and said, I did not send or receive any classified emails, and the FBI director says, no, that's wrong, so therefore she committed perjury, they would have to recommend for prosecution, the Congress, if they want to pursue perjury charges to Hillary Clinton, they would have to send that to Attorney General Loretta Lynch, who is one of the imperious droids of Her Majesty. Okay? She's not going to do anything with it. The FBI director is not going to do anything with it. They know she lied. They know she committed perjury. But Judicial Watch is suing in a civil lawsuit to get information about this stuff under a Freedom of Information Act. And it was there that the Clinton IT staffer took the Fifth Amendment 125 consecutive times. Now, they're going to try to get Hillary Clinton to testify as part of this lawsuit, the Judicial Watch lawsuit. And on Monday, lawyers for Hillary Clinton are going to go to federal court for the first time, this is Politico, to block efforts to force her to testify in a civil lawsuit related to her private email setup. Okay? Just remember, Bill Clinton was not impeached for having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton was impeached and disbarred as a sitting president. No other sitting president has ever been disbarred. He was impeached and disbarred for committing perjury as part of that civil lawsuit. That sounds familiar. So lawyers for Hillary Clinton don't want her to testify. You don't want to put her under oath. It's hard for her to tell the truth. She's admitted how hard it is for her to tell the truth. And we know that. We've witnessed that for decades, that they are pathological liars. See, I think this is all part of why Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton, because Hillary Clinton even said it after her testimony to the FBI. She said, you know, sometimes people get in even more trouble for lying to the FBI. That was what she was worried about. She had to be briefed, I believe, as to what the FBI knew, what they were going to do, because they knew they weren't going to bring charges against her for the felonies of sending and receiving classified emails on an unsecured server in violation of all national security regulations. That wasn't going to happen, but, you know, somebody within the FBI might bring up the fact that she lied to the FBI. I think she probably did. I think that's why they're not going to give us any recordings or any transcripts of that questioning, because they don't want us to know that she probably lied to the FBI. But maybe she was briefed, and maybe she had several days to be prepared, because, you know, she doesn't do press conferences, hasn't had a press conference in about 220 days since before the election started. So she doesn't speak off the cuff. Everything that she does is very carefully crafted by her advisors and handlers and focus grouped or whatever, okay? They run it through the lawyers to make sure it's there. So she does not want to get there, because that is a perjury danger there for her. They say Judicial Watch has asked to depose Clinton in a pair of FOIA lawsuits, Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, which have raised questions about whether or not her private email system was created in part to avoid making messages accessible under the Freedom of Information Act. In other words, that's precisely what it was created to do, is to keep her personal information quiet, perhaps to be a Dropbox for exchange of people who are buying secrets. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we saw 20 years ago from the Clintons with the Chinese government. This would be very easy to do that, right? Put it in a Dropbox. It's easy to pass this information off to people and just say you were hacked. But anyway, the U.S. District Court Judge Sullivan has set a hearing for Monday to see whether or not she will be deposed in a case that is demanding records about employment arrangements of Clinton's aide, Huma Abedin, who was double-dipping, among other things. Now, they argue that a Supreme Court case from 1980 discussed the possibility of recovering records sought under FOIA but no longer under agency control. They said that requires a close temporal connection between an official's removal of records and a specific request. Okay, well, look, why else would she have had gone so much trouble to violate all the national security laws to create this if she wasn't trying to hide the records? And Judicial Watch says it's no surprise that neither Hillary Clinton nor the Obama State Department, and of course it was her State Department as well, agrees with our request to depose Ms. Clinton. They said it is both significant and disturbing that Hillary Clinton now asserts a private claim of rights. She says, this is my private property. What's her private property? Her non-state.gov email account, including any of the 55,000 pages of federal records that she has returned to the State Department. So she has returned these records to the State Department, but she asserts that she privately owns them. She privately owns them, and you cannot ask her any questions in an email lawsuit. So we shall see what U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan does on Monday, whether or not he is going to say, no, we need to know, we deserve to know the truth, we should know the truth. I certainly hope that he does that, but of course that's going to be interesting to follow that. Now, along the lines of, I guess I could say, the continual mental illness and depravity of our society here, got a couple of stories here. One of them, of course, and who would have guessed this? A transgender woman has been arrested for voyeurism at tranny-friendly Target. You know, there's people who just go out of their way to make everything friendly for the trannies. Remember their statement? They said, we welcome transgender team members and guests to use the restroom or the fitting room facility that corresponds to their gender identity. So how is that working out for you? Okay. Well, this is how it worked out in Idaho Falls. A transgender woman was arrested yesterday on one count of felony voyeurism for a report that she took pictures of, and this is the way they reported in the Post-Register, another woman. No, I'm sorry. It was not another woman. It was a man dressed as a woman taking pictures of a woman in the dressing room, changing clothes in the dressing room at, where else but Target. Of course, Target. Now, the person who says that his name is Shauna Smith, the 43-year-old now in custody, he was actually booked by the police because they're not buying any of this BS. They booked Shauna Smith as Sean Smith. At least the cops know what's going on with this. Mental illness, okay? You know, it was kind of funny. Back when they did MASH, the TV show, you had Corporal Klinger doing his fashion show every segment, trying to get a Section 8, trying to get people dressing up as a woman so people would say that he was mentally ill and get out of the military. Instead, that mental illness is now being imposed upon our entire society. Okay? Everybody, they didn't let him out because they knew he wasn't sincerely doing this, okay? But that was his gig. That was the ongoing joke. It's not funny anymore. It just simply isn't funny. It's simply depravity, folks. And it's this kind of societal manipulation that I cannot, when you look at this guy at Target, who imagined that this would happen? And of all places, Target, the people who are going out of their way to set this social agenda. Remember that the North Carolina law that was a response to a Charlotte law, okay, that Charlotte law was done by a tranny, okay, saying we're going to dictate what the bathrooms are. Now, the tranny who did that was a convicted sex offender, a man who wanted to dress as a woman and who wanted to override private property rights and say, we're going to dictate to you that men dressed as women can go into the ladies' room. Who would have thought that something like this would happen? Well, any thinking person would have known that this is what's going to happen, okay? And we need to get over this, and we need to not be a part of this at InfoWars either, normalizing this kind of insanity with people like Blair White. Let's not pretend that these people are men, okay? I'm kind of old-fashioned. You're a man or woman based on your genitals, not your gender identity, okay? Let's stop with the fantasy. Let's stop pushing that kind of nonsense. It disgusts me to see us being a part of that as well. And while we're talking about indoctrination, look at this article that we've got at Infowars.com. This is the indoctrination I was talking about last week, the indoctrination that was sold to us by Bill Ayers and by Barack Obama, the idea that we have white skin privilege. Of course, now, Bill Ayers didn't exactly invent it. They popularized it with Students for Democratic Society, SDS, and the Weather Underground. They were the ones who really popularized this. And the thing that was really powerful, he wasn't getting any traction when he was going around blowing up buildings and killing cops.